Hey guys, welcome to Oddcast. Wednesday has come out on Netflix, and we finished the season, and we want to talk about it. All right, so hey guys, welcome to Oddcast. I'm your host Joe, and
CN.
And like I said before, Wednesday's come out, and we kind of want to talk about it. So I want to start off by saying this.
What's that?
Because I always get a bad rap of Joe didn't like it, Joe didn't like it, Joe didn't like it. So I'm actually not going to start this time. CN, what did you think of it before I share my overall opinion?
I had some apprehensions on watching it. Even with the Tim Burton name tied to it, I still had a little bit of some apprehension towards it. But I actually enjoyed it. A lot more than I thought I would.
All right. So I also enjoyed it. However, and this is the side to it.
However,
Tim Burton as a director did great.
Mm-hmm.
The casting choices, fantastic.
Yes.
The actors, all of their choices, amazing.
Uh-huh.
Their performances, really good. You know what wasn't good?
The story.
The story was just completely lacking. And it took me so I finished it yesterday and I was like, how can I sum this up? Like what do I see as the problem with Wednesday? And the problem is this. It didn't have to be Wednesday Addams.
I mean, you're saying that technically the story could have been just the same without it being part of the Addams Family franchise.
Picture this: you take Daria and you put her in a world with and you put her into Twilight. It could have been anybody.
No. I no. You're basically saying you could take any dark character like Daria or
you could have put Sabrina Spellman in the same scenario and it would have been just the same.
That's fine. Like what do you consider an Addams Family or a Wednesday type movie then?
That's the thing, is that to me the Addams clan is what makes it an Addams thing, but because it was just Wednesday and Thing, you could have really done it with anybody plus a sidekick. Anybody plus a sidekick and you win. They
might change it in the second season. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I had an issue with the story. I actually enjoyed the story very much. I did like it was kind of like a murder mystery setup. There was a couple of surprises about the show itself that I was actually surprised that they actually did. They kind of went a little bit further and beyond as far as the supernatural aspect, because everybody assumed in the previous Addams Family movies, Addams Family Values, and then you have the television show, they were always weird, but it was just like, it was kind of like, they were just super goth and they were just kind of playing on that whole aspect. But they actually brought out the supernatural aspect, which I thought was a really well thing to do. Yes, I agree. You could have thrown any character that you would have, you could really throw any character in that story and it still be the same. But I think because it was Wednesday and how Gina kind of portrayed that character, I think it just worked better than what I would have expected.
So here's the thing. You could have made it any character and it didn't have to be Wednesday, but nobody would have watched your show without the name recognition of the Addams Family. So what they were banking on is you'll watch it because you know the character, but the character wasn't needed. Like, Wednesday was a needed character.
No.
Like, you needed a focal point, but you didn't need her to be an Addams. And also explain this to me. So I like to treat it as its own thing. Mm-hmm. So I went into it with, this isn't going to be the Addams Family that I'm familiar with. It's going to be something new. It's a new take. Totally acceptable. You know what I don't accept? The whole world knows that there's vampires, werewolves, sirens.
So, all right.
They just know it. That ruins the entirety of everything that I knew of the Addams Family, because what made the Addams Family kind of fun was, oh man, they're spooky and they're ooky and they're all a little kooky.
Yeah.
So essentially they took, what they did, in my opinion, was they were like, oh man, I think I watched I feel like the writers were like, oh man, we've all had experience on CW shows, so we could probably write what we know, and we all played a part in Into the Badlands, so we can also write what we know. And I'm pretty familiar with the Addams Family. That was the show where the grandpa was the vampire, right? Yeah, that one. That's the Addams Family, and that's what they did. They were like, oh, we'll make a Munsters show, but make it Wednesday Addams instead.
No, so okay, I gave it a pass. I agree with you on the fact that I was like, wait, so this, all right, I gave it a pass because I took it as just the town knew. Like, as far as like the rest of the world, who really knows? But like, I gave it a pass because I was like, all right, maybe just the town knows. The town knows that there's vampires, and we're actually, what was funny was during like the first couple of episodes of the season, I thought the town just knew about the Nevermore Academy and that they were just outcast kids that were just weird. They didn't know how weird, but weird. But then like when I saw, and that's why I said that the whole supernatural aspect, I like the fact that they kind of played on that a little bit more. You saw the werewolves, you saw the vampires, you saw the sirens, you saw the faceless kids. I was like, oh, so this town knows that these things exist? And I was like, okay, I can see the town, especially since the town already had like a weird back history as is. So as far as the rest of the world, I don't know. I don't know. So I'm not going to say the world. So I gave it a pass.
The world at large knows is the takeaway that I had from it. Also, and this is just me being nitpicky, which people can hate on me. Can we please, I'm begging you, Netflix, whoever's watching this, can we please get away from Salem and Massachusetts and the northeast of America? Can we move genre? To somewhere else?
That whole genre thing?
Yeah, like, oh, there's witches and goblins and ghouls and pilgrims. It's got to be New England. We don't have anywhere else that we could put this thing. I mean, we're not Quakers or supernatural stuff that happened in the Midwest.
You kind of have to play on what you know, though. You have to play on what you know. So
you could have literally made it anywhere, and it would have been just the same because the Salem part didn't really play a part to the story other than that there were witches. But then there wasn't really witchcraft until like the very end. Like they didn't have the Harry Potter Hogwarts for the Addams Family didn't have like a witches class or anything. Like, right. I don't know what these kids were taking because they didn't spend any time going over the curriculum of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, at least at the academy that Sabrina was going to, I was like, oh, she's taking classes on spells and stuff. Okay, that makes sense. We know that there was a botanist who was working on stuff. And every twist that happened in it, like, none of it caught me where I was like, oh, okay.
No, I think so, obviously spoiler alert for you guys, but like Christina Ricci's character, I didn't 100% expect. To be honest, I thought she was Goody Addams. Just somehow, I thought that would be from a writing standpoint, I thought that'd be a great idea to have it to where Christina Ricci, who played Wednesday Addams in the previous movies, played a descendant of the Addams. I thought that would be a good writing ploy. I didn't 100% expect it to be the antagonist. I also didn't expect the guy, the barista kid, to be the Hyde. I didn't expect
Tyler?
that either. Yeah, I didn't expect him to be the Hyde.
I expected him only because then they started to hint at his mother. Like, every one of the story beats, I was like, oh, okay. Like, the minute that they showed the family photo, I was like, oh, so Christina Ricci is trying to avenge her family. Got it. And then everything else that fell into place, I was like, okay. And then they dropped the line about it could be chemically induced or psychologically. I was like, oh, so they're going to try and make it seem like it's this person, but it's really not because it's this person doing it chemically. Okay. And then
I mean, I knew it wasn't the person that they were like focusing on it being, but like I wasn't sure who.
So I have a question for you specifically, because normally you don't like these kinds of things, but you can pick up on certain things. Like you and I, you don't like romance stuff. It's not your thing.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
But you can tell when there's good chemistry between actors. Like we can argue the semantics of, was there a romantic relationship between Chiana and John?
Right.
Because the two of them have really good chemistry with one another. And we can't deny that there is a palpable chemistry between Aaron and John on Farscape.
Right.
Did you feel any chemistry between Wednesday and Xavier, the painter kid?
No. I didn't.
I felt like it was the super force, like everybody else could see it.
It definitely did feel forced. 100%.
Like everybody else, like even Uncle Fester was like, "Oh, you can cut the tension with a knife," and I was like, "Can you? Is it supposed to be palpable?" Because I feel like these two actors just don't want to be on screen with one another; they just want to leave. Can I just get the check and head out?
Well, okay. So what about Tyler though? Because if you say yes with Tyler, I have a question then.
I feel like there was better chemistry between her and Tyler. However, I think that I'm kind of with the internet. The best chemistry that character had was definitely with Enid.
Yes, I agree. And what's interesting is that, so just kind of, I would not have been mad if Wednesday liked Enid, kind of thing. If they kind of decided to go that route, I wouldn't have been mad about it. I know some people probably would have. I don't think I'd be mad about it. But
in all honesty, because the Addams family always pushes the thing about the Addams family was that it was supposed to be the idea of that, what is abnormal to some is normal to others. And so there's a place for normalcy amongst everybody. And the Munsters is more of a in-your-face kind of, we are who we are and we have to accept it thing. And the show hinted at those topics, like, especially with Enid, because they did the thing where, she couldn't wolf out.
Right.
And her family wanted her to go to conversion therapy. It wasn't so subtle what they were getting at. Right. She even has rainbows all over herself. Okay, we get it. But I feel like if they were going to push that envelope, I wouldn't mind seeing Wednesday in a situation where she is in love with two people.
Right.
And instead of making it your traditional love triangle of you have to choose one or the other, she gets to go with both.
Right. What's funny is, me, I'm not a big fan on teen love dramas. I can't really stand it. But the reason I would have to say that love triangle between Tyler and, what's the other kid's name?
Xavier.
The reason why that was palatable, I was able to take that, is because of how Wednesday was reacting to the situation. She wasn't lovey-dovey about the situation or anything like that. You could tell definitely with Tyler that she was more into him. But then again, they did that in the original movie. In Values. Yeah. In Values, she was interested in the normal kid.
Yeah, but Christina Ricci and that kid had a much better chemistry, even burying him at the end. But that, again, I removed that to I have to go with, I have different expectations for what it was. So, overall, was Wednesday worth watching? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I felt like there were times when it just dragged. And it always dragged at, weird spots where I was like, is this still okay?
No, they have been dragging moments. Now, I do want to make a point too. I want to make 2 points that I know the critics and a lot of the fans out, or the people who watched it, who were hating on Guzman playing Gomez.
No, he's great.
He was great, and the reason why he was great is because if you go back and look at the original comic of the Addams, that's how he looked. Yeah, exactly. He was not suave and debonair. I understand that people are used to Raul Julian playing Gomez being suave, debonair, adventurous. I understand it, and I'm there with you. But I know the comic, and I know how Gomez originally looked, and he looked like him to a T. To a T. So, no. The only thing I can say was I wasn't a huge fan of Morticia. Catherine Zeta-Jones-Douglas, I'm not sure if she's still married to Michael Douglas or not, but Catherine Zeta-Jones-Douglas, I wasn't a huge fan of her character as Morticia.
I didn't mind her as Morticia, but here's the thing: is the Addams family clan didn't really do anything, so there's not much to like about them. The only 2 characters who really did something were Uncle Fester, who did fine. I liked the character that they came up with. His electric powers were a little bit over the top, I thought, but I get it. And then Thing, who was great. Thing's fantastic. And the redesign for Thing was great. I was like, all right, cool. Excellent. I did have one problem, though. He claimed that he got stabbed in the back, but he was stabbed in the palm, and I was like, okay, no, that's not the back of that hand.
That was just poor.
It was poor choice.
I don't know if it was continuity error or just a writing error. I don't know.
It was just really weird. She was like, "Did you see who did it?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "But they essentially stabbed you in the gut. Like, how did you miss it?" And it's not like you have eyeballs that I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's where his eyes." What? So maybe his eyes are on like the on the front. Maybe because he doesn't have something there to like let us know it's.
I mean, when he walks, he is like this, so maybe his eyes are like...
up on top, like where he's wearing the hat. Back. I don't know. The thing is always fun, and I thought that this did fine. It's like a Star Wars bot. Like, I don't have to understand what that character's saying to, like, get it, and be like, oh, okay. I did enjoy the fact, though, that, like, he is more of a protagonist than Wednesday is, because, like, he's pushing the story forward every time that you see him. I'm like, thank you, Thing, for making... things happen. But I feel like it didn't have to be 8 one-hour episodes. It could have been 4 episodes that were an hour and a half each, and it could have gotten the same amount of story done. It was like it's the CW writing technique of, oh man, we have like 4 episodes worth of story, but we really need like filler stuff. So like they put in all these subplots that just kind of evaporated. Like her and Bianca didn't get along in the beginning. So then there was like this build up to a rivalry, and then it just fizzled into nothingness.
Yeah, there was also a storyline between Bianca and her mom,
which I'm sure they're gonna
end it. Like nothing happened.
Well, they're gonna flesh it out more because Lucas is involved. I don't know. The whole thing, I was like, you're introducing like too many sub characters to this thing for if Netflix doesn't renew it, they wasted time on building up any of these things. Like the Twilight vampire kids.
Yep.
They're not even in. Why were they even in the school? They're not even part of what's going on, other than to say that they've lived for decades.
Background. They were decent background characters.
Yeah, okay.
Just like the faceless kids.
Yeah, and then the kids have powers, but like they don't talk about the powers. Like, and why didn't Pugsley go to the school? There's so many questions.
I was like, why didn't Pugsley go? Like,
so you just left him with the bullies, and he couldn't defend himself, and like, shouldn't he be too stupid to like understand that they were picking on him and just deal with it? Because isn't that what Wednesday does? It was just weird. But again, it's a fun watch. Just be prepared for there to be some moments where you're like, ugh. And then the other part, last thing, and then we'll wrap this thing up here.
Right.
And that is, the dance scene was a lot of fun.
Oh man, that was one of my favorite parts. Her dancing
it's a throwback,
was fantastic.
It's a throwback to her dance of Lurch. I was like, okay, cool.
Well, what's totally interesting is that if you catch it, I had to show. I told Priscilla this too. If you catch it during her performance of doing that dance, there was 1 second. It was like a half a second of her on camera, but I noticed it. She was doing the dance that was memed for a while from the black and white Addams Family show. She did that dance. That she did with Lurch. Yeah, the one she did with Lurch. She did it. It was a quick cut. I was like, they cut it too fast, but I noticed it. I was like, and I did notice a lot of. They did do a lot of little Easter eggs, like the creepy kooky line, that dance. There was a couple of things, but yeah.
I enjoyed the fact that they incorporated the snap.
Yes, they incorporated the snap, which I thought was great.
So that was our quick review of it. We definitely think you guys should check it out. I'm hoping there's going to be a season 2, but with Netflix, there's no telling. They're the new Fox.
Yeah.
So did you like it? There's a good shot it's not going to be around much longer. If you're in the mood for something that's spooky and kooky and more original, in my opinion, than Wednesday Addams, I highly recommend checking out Daybreakers, but be prepared, it doesn't have a season 2. But other than that, expect a deeper dive into this because I'm going to get with a mega fan of the Addams Family and see what their take is, as well as a comic reader and see what their take was. But that'll be for a later time. If you want to see that, then I recommend that while you're in the comments telling us what we got wrong and what you did like about the Addams Family, that you hit the like, subscribe, and the little bell for notifications, and that way you can be part of the conversation too. If you want us to talk about a particular topic, please let us know down there. Otherwise, this has been Oddcast. This is Joe and
CN, and we are out. Later, guys.
Bye, guys.